Welcome, guys. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen. Hey, everybody. How's the conference been? You guys having fun? Cool. So we're going to be talking about the use of open analytics. And I know that in the keynote yesterday that was mentioned a few times, but I wanted to frame the topic with a couple of examples that might sound really familiar for everybody. Sharing data and collaborating with your colleagues with data historically has meant downloading the data that you've got, finding it from some system, copying it into Excel, and emailing it around. Does this sound familiar to folks in the room? Yeah, so the problem with this is that it basically creates an ungoverned environment for your data, which means that you can have multiple employees that are capturing the same information, using the same information in totally different formats. You could have multiple departments that are coming up with answers that are radically different from each other when asking the same questions of the data. And then worse yet, it's a huge cybersecurity issue as well, right? Your data is ungoverned, it's not secure. So I'm joined by three amazing individuals that have really tackled the problem of shadow analytics in some brilliant ways. And they're leveraging economies of scale and economies of reuse of data by leveraging data as a service first. So no more emailing spreadsheets around, they've got the authoritative source. And it's allowing them to scale incredibly innovative new initiatives in their governments. So with that, we're gonna get started with Juan Vasquez from the city of Los Angeles.
Thank you, Jessica.
I saw this. Should we just switch off?
Yeah. I was gonna say,
LA to Memphis. LA to Memphis.
It's a long flight, but a short pass the remote.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Okay, so essentially, we started our program a few years ago. This right here, this slide, and the reason we jumped in with this is our mayor's dashboard review, where the mayor and all the 14 reports, direct reports, and their deputies gather once a month to discuss the important metrics by which we measure ourselves and analyze their performance. A lot of people have that. So it's not unique to us. The way we deliver that information is, though. In order for us to do that presentation, we had to come up with a system that had three main requirements. The first is that it's long. It's 50 to 60 slides. And so we needed something that could handle that, something that would show off that information dynamically, because otherwise you're looking at a PowerPoint slide. And then the third thing, and I think everyone has to deal with this at whatever municipality or county or state you've got, is the dreaded PDF. It is a necessary evil. Not in as much as that's how we distribute it to the public, but that's how I distribute it to my mayor. We print it out, he takes a look at it, make sure that he's good with the information there and has all the context he needs, and then we give it to him in a digestible form on the platform. So how did we get there? That's the real fun part. There were, to use the Edison example, there were a lot of broken light bulbs along the way. We started off with PowerPoint and a static presentation. We tried the perspectives model, which was great, and I want to give Socrata some credit. They worked really hard to try to make it work for us. The PDFing issue and the scale of what we were throwing at them made it to where we had to look at some other options. A couple of other, visme.com is an iframe online slides thing. I built a website off of slides.js. Apparently nobody wants to update HTML in order to make a slideshow every week. I don't know why that is. And then the last was PowerPoint with iframes. Anyway, all that is, I'm telling you, bad relationships that ended. What we ended up with is Data Studio, which in the small world of this industry, Socrata helped us build a connector to it, which has now been published on Google's platform so that anybody that wants to give that as a try can do that with either public or private data sets, according to our Peter Moore, who helped us build it. So hopefully I'm not over-promising on that. We've also used some other platforms, Tableau, Power BI, Click. Pretty much if it's got a free demo, we tried it. And all that to say, essentially, what it helped us do, cycle time, by pushing stuff to a dynamic and dynamically filtered. That's important. So when somebody sees the slide, they're seeing the last 13 months, no matter when they see it. And that's important. make sure that your stuff is evergreen. We cut down from 32 hours, because it took about 2 analysts 2 days. That's not calculus, but it's about 32 hours. That's down to about 6 hours, and that's a sunk cost. That's not going to get any lower than that. We've hit bone. The accuracy. Previously, we were dealing with mistakes because people were keying things in, they were updating slides, it was just making it a nightmare. 90% of our data is now loaded through automated workflows, and that sounds great. The data scientist in me wants that at 100. Like, it wants it, every time to be automatic and done accurately. Finally, sort of my thoughts on this around what should be your driver. It's not about the presentation layer. It's not about the analytics layer or whatever magical unicorn layer you want to call it. It is about the data. It is about making sure that you've got feeds getting the data into a source system, establishing good QC and good QA, quality control and quality assurance. Then you have to have all of your stuff stacked on top of good data. It's like a house. It's got to be built on a good foundation. Quick cautionary tale. Think about the possibilities of things that could happen when you turn over these tools to analysts and other departments. Don't think that they are you, that they have spent 6 months building this and working with this platform and understand all of the processes and steps. Document everything, or someday you will hypothetically open up your public-facing dashboard and see that all of your fire metrics are blinking red because the data disappeared. Just hypothetically. So anyway, that's, like I said, it's a catch-22. Anyway, and we'll talk about this later, but one question I want to ask you guys to think about is if there was something you could do with your data that you can't do right now. If tomorrow you could snap your fingers and answer a question or solve a problem, what would it be? And use that when you're deciding how you want to structure things. What do I want to solve? Anyway.
Fantastic.
Hopefully we pass back to
we're gonna
LA. Here we go. We did. We got it right.
Perfect.
Woo!
It sounds like you've really gotten the fundamentals right, and that's really allowed you to do some really innovative, incredible things.
Like
That's
I said.
great. Awesome. All right, Juan from the City of Los Angeles, take it away.
Thank you, Socrata, for being here and for coming to hang out with us for a little bit. I'm going to spend about 5 minutes sharing some insights and lessons learned about how we in Los Angeles are approaching formalizing and regulating adult use cannabis activity. This is a huge topic, and it's going to matter easily for the next 10 years. All layers of municipalities from all over the country, if you're not already grappling with this topic, you soon will be. And so I hope there's all kinds of insights for everybody in the room to pull from, or maybe you just like a little bit of weed, and that's cool too. No judgment there. Let me tell you about the opportunity at hand. Voters in Los Angeles voted to decriminalize and legalize adult use cannabis, I believe March of last year. It's a measure that was with the intention of generating a whole lot of revenue for the city to go into additional really important issues like housing, like homeless relief efforts. So know that it's attached to a broader vision for really additionally big issues for Los Angeles. Also, it was an incredible opportunity in that the cannabis industry has been operating informally for over 2 decades in our city, in our state. And so all of this money has just been, business models and revenue streams and distribution models are in place. And we now get to bring that out to the formal space where it can be regulated. So that in itself, huge opportunity. How often do you get a 2+ decade-old industry ready to come join us in the regulated playing field? Additionally, this was a huge priority for the mayor. And so there was a big mayoral mandate that was very clearly heard by all of our departments, close to, we have 40+ departments in the city of Los Angeles, 45,000 employees. And at least 30 or so departments are directly touched by this new policy or the side effects, the consequences that come with a new regulated business activity. Additionally, as I noted, this is an informal economy becoming formalized. It's a long process. We need people to believe in the process. We need those who are not yet licensed and acting under the new policy regulations to want to go down that process. We need business owners to want to be regulated. And we need consumers to want to purchase from those that are licensed. If those things don't happen, then there won't be a reason for people to follow the law, and that's just everybody loses in that case. Everybody loses. We as a city lose money. The industry is going to find itself torn in a variety of ways. And so we need people to trust in the process and participate in now this licensed, regulated, lawful activity. Here we go. So our portion, and I'll explain the main three actors in my particular case study, our portion of the work focused on managing incoming public complaints. And so that meant that if a member of the public, if a neighborhood council advocate, if a community activist, if anybody saw some activity they perceived as illicit or a danger to the public, they should have a way to communicate that back to us. That also creates a number of feedback loops for us to take action on. And this all started with an email account. So originally, our newly minted and launched Department for Cannabis Regulation, they launched in January of this year as a way to drive this legislation forward and regulate this new formal economy. It started with like one person. I think they're now up to 5 people maybe. Huge task for a city with close to 4 million individuals. We have over 500,000 businesses. We have a number of them in the cannabis industry. So there wasn't a lot of resources to go really formal off the bat. So I think the email account is still cannabiscomplaint@lacity.org, some sort of generic email address. That's how it all started, just to create some type of dialogue. We've used Socrata data lens technology to automate portions of the Q&A process, the digging for answers, the understanding what really matters, what matters to different departments, what is happening, what are some trends for us to poke at. That's what data lens is currently doing for us. And more importantly, it's helping us understand what a formal complaint portal, Socrata is not a case management system, right? Like, let's not force it to do things that it's not meant to do. It's helping us get to the right type of system configuration that does what it needs to do. And Socrata can continue to do what it does for us natively. So know that Socrata is that middle point for us that is helping us really quickly answer thoughtful questions about what a full formal system should do, that basically handles intake, triages those complaints, and then delegates them out to the 30+ departments who need to take action in some sort of way. This will just reiterate a little bit of what I said in the last version. The impact that we're seeing here is that by using data lens technologies, and you'll see some of the examples, all of our 30 departments now have a common language to rally around. So now we have folks at the table with the mayor at the head of the table, and LAPD is bringing to the table the types of mechanism they can use to enforce. At the Office of Finance, we bring our mechanisms, and here's what we can bring to the table. The Building and Safety Department, Department of Water and Power, everybody now has a community space to share policy mechanisms to effectively regulate. Additionally, it's helping us understand problem areas. And as we think about formalizing an informal economy, which has created all types of socioeconomic issues, some communities have been very negatively impacted and have paid dearly over time, primarily immigrant communities, communities of color. They have been really pained over time because of our drug war, and now this is legal. And so how do we approach this in a way that can create balance and equity and inclusion and diversity? And then the last point, we get a lot of perspective. It's a consistent dialogue between what the community is seeing and what we're seeing. So all these things combine for true impact. In formalizing our complaint intake process, we at the Office of Finance were tasked with handling the workflow development portion of things. My team is tasked specifically with thinking about and acting on a proactive business experience. That also means we're a 2-person kind of SWAT ninja team, and we get thrown into all kinds of cool projects. It's one of those, take your high performers and just throw whatever you need something handled. So we become that type of entity. So I encourage everyone in the room to try to be kind of that ninja SWAT team. We work closely with our information technology agency. They supported us in all of the system configuration, the technical end of things as we're doing the large strategy. And then lastly, the DCR, the Department of Cannabis Regulation, they're our client in a way in this process. Just want to share with you all some of the sample text that was and is coming in from folks. Totally unstructured, a number of key points and insights being bundled together. I'll read the second one, which is, I guess, favorites in a way. This came from a woman in some part of Los Angeles, and it reads, part of the email, she ended up being stoned for over 24 hours, talking about her friend. This is the second story I have of a personal friend being given the wrong medication by illegal shop. What I don't mention here is that the writer of this email was in her 70s, and her friend, who was stoned for 24 hours, was in her 80s, or is hopefully in her 80s. What action can we take on this? If you look at the other snippets of text, how do you standardize and dig for insights? Yeah. So Data Lens is helping us get to a point where we're more easily taking action on these things. Real quick, one tactic I love to use if we're using Google Sheets, I will publish my CSV file directly to the web and use that CSV web link to create my data set, creating basically a live feed between my data entry point and where my insights are running. Right here, import, create data, or import data file, import from the internet, you're good to go. This is ultimately a snippet of what our data lens looks like. So, welcome. There's a party happening upstairs.
The spasmatics are back.
So regularly, about every two weeks or so, a working group of a variety of departments is coming together to rally around a dashboard that helps surface and drive conversation. In this case, what we're seeing is where the complaints are coming from, member of the public. A lot of cannabis businesses are reporting on each other. And different mapping visualizations to do this, looking at the exact locations to identify bad actors. One interesting insight, in January of this year, we had like 100 complaints come in from one person. That was a large cannabis business saying, hey, here's like all the people that aren't playing by the rules yet. We would have, at least a number of us never expected this. And just real quick, our vision, I know I got to wrap up. We're aiming to create something that is scalable, sustainable, that helps with claim management and has a real workflow within it. And we're almost there thanks to Socrata Data Lens technology. Thank you all for your time and energy.
Let's give Justin a big hand for speaking through the construction noise. Awesome. All right. And hopefully it goes away soon.
Stop it. Somebody have a broom?
Yeah, I know. Tap on the ceiling. And next we've got Justin Baker, and he's going to talk about the work he's doing in the state of Michigan, Office of Good Government and Performance Management.
Real loudly.
So,
Yeah, super
project.
loudly. I'm just gonna yell over everyone. Awesome. So this is me. Hi, I'm Justin. Hello, friends. I'm from state of Michigan. I work in our Office of Performance and Transformation. And I built some stuff with R, and I'm gonna talk about it. Yes. So my job at State of Michigan is to manage all of these fancy gentlemen. So I do the admin for our open data portal, which is fabulous. Check it out. And we just launched a new initiative in February of this year called our Path Toward Our Future. It's our government executive level performance dashboard that tracks all of the governor's outcome measures that he's looking to track for the rest of his term. And we've also got this Flint Action Tracker, which tracks all of the resources and the work that we're putting into remediating the situation in Flint. This was like our first big performance dashboard, and it's gone really, really well over the past couple years. And my problem with all of these is not, unlike these guys who are solving like amazing real world stuff problems, I just had a question about like, hello, I'm alone in my department looking at all of these things very often. I desperately need a way to be able to connect all of them together to make sure that all of the initiatives that we're working on that are cross-program and cross-department are like impacting each other in a positive way, and make sure that all of the programs we're working on are like working in general. That's kind of my job, to make sure the stuff works. And to solve this problem, I built, oh, come on, guy. I built one of these fancy guys, which is an ad hoc performance dashboard in R using R and Flex dashboards to pull all of the data from all of those different portals into one central document through all of the Socrata APIs. And one of the great things about this is that since it's in R and we're deploying it on dashboards, this is just an HTML file. You can see in the top left, oh, I was informed that nobody has used the laser thing. I'm gonna use the laser thing. You can see in this top left.
Done.
What? Right. You can see in this top left corner right there, that says Socrata Connect 2018.html. This is just an HTML file. It can be opened in any browser. So I can build one of these guys and then send it up to my executives, and they can open it in Google Chrome or Explorer or whatever they're opening it in, which is super powerful for us. And since it's R, so I can pull all of our open data through data.michigan.gov. I've got the sources right up there in the top left corner for this. So I can pull it from future.michigan.gov, our path toward our future dashboard, and the data and Flint Action Tracker. And I also pulled some stuff from the St. Louis Fed API. But we do this with, I pull stuff from our local databases. We can pull stuff through any of the federal databases, data.gov, and any other sources that have an API. We can pull all of those things through the API and combine them into one place to benchmark ourselves against everyone else and provide context to the programs that we're working on. So I've just got one super quick example here. I was interested, I built this for all of you beautiful people at Socrata Connect. We have a little dashboard here looking at construction jobs and the percent of children living in poverty. Both of these are on our open data portals, and we've got some long-term unemployment and labor force participation data also. And then I can just page through. I can build this visualization really fast right here. I can page over to the next little tab at the top. We've got another thing, labor force participation rate in children living in poverty. These are obviously like the correlations that we would expect to have with this sort of data. Page over one more time, look at those construction jobs and labor force participation rate. And then we can also put in some time trends. We have those little tabs at the top right there. We can put in some time trends and go over to those and look at, like, this is how jobs have changed, the number of jobs in, I think we've got construction and hospitality and manufacturing in Michigan since the 90s, and then on the bottom, term trends since our current administration started in 2011. So this is a really nice way, a really concise way for us to be able to visualize all of these sorts of things, and then it's a nice way for us to be able to share to people who don't have like our programming capabilities. Yeah. Isn't that so nice? Oh, it's so nice. So here's an example, just a couple slides of how I actually did the thing. If you look right here, are you ready for a pointer again? Yes. If you look right over here, this is just our payroll jobs construction rate. This is where this line, this red line right there, comes from this data set on data.michigan.gov. I can hit that API endpoint right there. It's going to download a JSON file directly into my RStudio software. This is RStudio. Isn't that so pretty? I wrote that.
It's beautiful.
That's so nice. Oh, thank you. So good. So good. I can import, just use that Flex dashboard package that's provided to everyone for free through RStudio, which is fabulous. Import those libraries right there. That R Socrata library is like my secret weapon that makes me seem like I'm way smarter than I actually am. So good. So I've got that R Socrata library right there. And then if we saw the product demo talk that happened yesterday, they showed a little bit of script and how easy it really is to import that stuff. That's this little fancy gentleman right there. This is how we import it. We really just save that, read it into Socrata through that R Socrata package, convert it into a table and rearrange some stuff right there off the bat. And that is like it. Of course, there's like some other data transformy things, but there's always data transformy things. Some of the awesome benefits of this for us in terms of like reusability and scale is that it gives us real-time updates. All we have to do is like rerun those R scripts, or stick them into like a Windows task manager to rerun automatically, so we get these real-time dashboards updated whenever we want to, whenever our data is changing. It provides that we talked about like having a single source of truth for data. That's like so key for providing insights to folks, and it gives us that capability to have that accurate data. And it's so simple for the analysts who are working on these projects, me and the folks on my team. It gives us like one way to visualize all of the disparate data that we've got spread out all over the place. And I think that is all of the things. Thank you.
Fantastic. Yeah. Incredible. I mean, I'm so impressed with each and every one of you. Not only are you building in incredible best practices into your own organizations and improving efficiencies. I mean, reducing an analyst's time by 1/6 is amazing. You're having impacts in your communities directly. I mean, the health and safety of your residents with this new emerging industry and how it's going to change your economy and hopefully hugely benefit the city. And I can't say enough how excited I am that you presented how you did what you did, especially using R. A lot of people say that Socrata is an open data company. I don't really agree with that. I think Socrata is an API company, and I think that these examples are incredible examples of exactly the benefits of using the API and creating those economies of scale for all of your projects. So thank you guys so much. I think we've got 4 minutes for questions.
we
There's
did
a mic
it.
in the back.
Yes.
Nice job on time.
Pass out.
Any questions from the audience? Yep, one right over here.
Hi, this is a question for Justin.
Awesome.
Are you using R notebooks? What are you using for displaying the R pages?
So that, I think my slides were like the last slide.
Sorry if
can put it back
I
up.
missed that part.
Nope, that's totally fine. This is just, I think this is a notebook script that I have put into this so that I can add the context here. I'll flip back a couple slides. So these guys down here, these are like different web parts of the dashboard, right? And I wanted to be able to run these in separate parts of the notebook, so I use notebooks for this. For things like book publishing, like we're gonna publish a big document, we use a lot of like Bookdown, the Bookdown package. We do some of that, but notebooks have been like super helpful for us in writing those scripts. Yeah.
Other questions?
Just got that 3 o'clock.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll just say, the other thing that I loved about your presentation was that you really demonstrated how anyone can use the tool that they like the most, which allows you to offer best of breed technology for your analysts and different knowledge workers across your organizations. Maybe somebody needs the functionality of RStudio, maybe somebody needs the functionality of Python, maybe somebody needs Tableau, whatever it might be. Amazing to be able to leverage the APIs so that you know the data that's going into all of those different tools are coming from the same trusted, authoritative source. You're not creating those shadow analytics systems where you're going back to a spreadsheet that's been emailed around, plugging it into some other tool.
Never
people are
again.
getting radically different
believe that
analysis, right, from the same data. So if there's no other questions, thank you guys so much. That was fantastic. You're all brilliant. I am so grateful that you're our customers. And really proud and impressed by the work you're doing. So thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.